The common denominator of success in anything is the mind. Like Geller told me, he says, "But don't analyze things. You train, you develop your form, but you don't analyze. When you go out, you allow it to happen."
And we're live today with Unmatched Fitting In podcast with, I consider always I have special guests, and Mr. Vince Anello. Welcome, Vince.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Greg.
Yeah. So, so it's been a little minute to get us together here, but it's really nice to meet you and see you on live on air. And I've heard so much about you from Larry. And, here on Imagine Fitting In, this podcast is all about mentors, Vince. And
Okay.
I know that, Mr. Pacifico, Larry Pacifico is was sort of your mentor as well.
Yes, he was. He got me started, his advice in the lifting and life and my business. He helped me start my business too.
Nice. So usually, where we start, Vince, is I'd like to ask you kind of, where were you born? Where you call home today? And, what was growing up like when you were a kid, and what would your parents do?
Okay. All right. I was born in Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up in Cleveland, and I'm right now in Strongsville, Ohio, right
Okay.
here. Yeah. And the reason I started when I grew up, I was really short and fat.
Okay.
And when I went to elementary school, I used to get bullied a lot.
Mm.
And that's how I started, training.
Right. What did your dad do, and your parents? What
My
would your
father was a mechanic. He was an
Okay.
auto mechanic.
Got it.
My
So
mother was a waitress. She was a waitress.
okay. And was your now Anello is that Italian?
Yeah, I'm 100% Italian. My mother was Italian, and my father is Italian. So I'm FBI, full-blood Italian.
All right. All right. I like that. So did you have siblings as well, Vince?
I'm the only child.
Oh, okay. Okay. And so you spent your whole childhood in Cleveland, going to school there. Did you have any idea at a young age, like having dreams when you were a kid? I always like to ask that question of, did you have any early childhood dreams that you remember?
Oh, yeah, I remember dreaming about being strong.
Okay.
I used to buy, in fact, my parents took me to the York Barbell weightlifting, weight strength training Hall of Fame in York.
Oh,
And I
okay.
bought magazines there, and oh,
You were hooked.
I was hooked. So I then, in third grade, I started weight training. I took an old rusty bar and put bricks on it.
In third grade?
In third grade, I started lifting in third grade and never stopped.
Oh my goodness. And so
Because I got,
third grade, you're like 8 years old, no?
yeah,
8 or 9.
I got bullied a lot. So I
Okay,
started
wow.
training back then, and I
Okay.
never stopped.
Okay. And so um when you let me ask you, you had this experience at that, is it you said the York, it's like a York place? What was it called again?
Yes, I had that experience. I bought magazines. I met Bob Peoples. Bob Peoples was the first person under 200 deadlift 700. And
Okay.
never realizing that I would be the first person under 200 to deadlift 800.
Oh wow. So it was kind of in the it was kind of in the cards where, this was kind of almost like your destiny. So
I used to visualize that all the time, Greg. I
okay.
visualized being strong.
And when you said you went to visit someplace, didn't you say went to visit someplace?
Yeah, York Barbell Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. And you were a kid.
I was a kid, yeah.
Wow. So that York, for listeners and myself, that York Barbell Hall of Fame, whatever, that had to be, oh my goodness, I can't even imagine what year that began or how long that been around.
I have no idea. But that was this, I call York the strength capital of the world.
Okay. And so
I never thought that I would be inducted.
Right.
At 19, I was inducted with Larry Pacifico, my
Okay.
hero.
Nice, nice. So let me ask you, Vince, like, was there any given time, like, when you were going to school up there when you were a kid, did you have any, do you remember any like teachers or individuals or coaches or something? Did you play sports in school?
Yeah, I played football and wrestle.
Oh, two great combinations, very
I
physical.
played football. I was pretty strong and well built in high school.
Okay. So I mean, you were obviously natural. And then if you were weightlifting early, you were probably darn strong. They probably liked you, the coaches.
Yeah, yeah, I did pretty good.
Did you have, did you have any coaches or teachers that made any impact? I always like to ask this because, sometimes, Vince, we don't realize when we're being mentored.
Yeah, not
Uh,
teachers. They were not too much into weight training back in those days
right.
when
But
I
I'm,
went.
yeah, but I'm saying, like, did you have any impactful teachers teachers that impacted you on levels besides weight training, or just like from a people, getting by, like when you're getting bullied, which is terrible, obviously. But do
No,
you?
I got bullied. I worked it out for myself.
Okay, okay, all right. And so you went to, in high school, is that where you played did you play high school football and wrestle?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And then during that time, did you have a career in mind, like what you wanted to pursue, and then powerlifting was on the side, or was that your destiny
No,
for the?
I didn't even know anything about powerlifting, Greg, until I was traveling. Went around and went to this gym, Vince's gym
Okay.
in Cleveland. I went up there, and Vince Lubowicki, he got me started in
So
powerlifting.
so did you seek it out, or you just happened to stumble across it, to like, his name is Vince. Say his name again, Vince.
Vince Lubowicki, yeah. I just stumbled across. Before that, I just did bodybuilding. In fact, when I was
Okay.
a teenager, I took third place in Mr. Teenage America and won
Not
Best Arms.
break here. Another great episode. I hope you are enjoying Imagine Fitting In podcast. And just a reminder here, please remember to hit the subscribe button, because we love to feel you a part of our Imagine Fitting In family. And if you want to become a brand ambassador, we'd love it if you would share this link on social media, through your email, all your friends. You can help with us with donations, any small donation, big or large, whatever you can manage, to help encourage us and support our efforts here. And you'll find that link in the show notes. And finally, again, a reminder, please refer guests to us. You can find me and contact me at thebalanceprofessor@gmail.com. Love to hear from you. All right. So I hope you continue enjoying Imagine Fitting In. All right. Till next time. Nice, man. Nice. Okay.
I
So,
was a bodybuilder first, and then after
okay.
that, I went into powerlifting when I met Vince Lubowicki.
Okay. So Vince was probably somewhat of did he coach you a lot, or just get you started and threw you in
Yeah, he
there?
got
And
me coaching. I started off with him, and then I won a world title in 1972
nice.
under him.
Okay.
But then
So
after that, he said, Vince, I want you to learn what I taught you. I was diagnosed with brain cancer.
you were.
He was,
Oh goodness. And
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 he passed away.
oh goodness. So this was right at the time. How long after you met him and spent time with him did he end up getting a diagnosis and passing away?
Oh, after in the mid 70s.
So it was like 5 years together, two
Yeah,
years,
yeah, 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 yeah,
something around like that. Okay, well, God bless him. God bless him.
yeah,
So obviously he made an impact because he scooted you right into the powerlifting scene.
yeah, yeah. Yes, he did.
What did you? Here's a question for you, Vince, and we have similar stories, because I could say I was a little bit bullied as well, and
Yeah,
I was a little overweight kid. I was very kind. I was very endearing and not, aggressive.
yeah,
And the kids can smell that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And so I feel you. I got into weight training, um, really not till I was about 18. in at Sinclair College here in Dayton. I took a strength training class, like a universal. It's back when they had like a Nautilus class when Nautilus
Yeah,
machines came out. So when you obviously you first got into bodybuilding because you wanted to change your physique, get stronger, and I
yeah,
don't know about you, but it helped me with my confidence
yeah,
and regiment, right? And
yeah,
structure and focus your attention and to get it's a framework to get other shit done. You know what I mean? Like it helps us framework goals, right? Because there's no bigger goal than trying to increase your bench press or right? Gain weight or drop weight or
yeah,
whatever,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good.
right?
What I
So,
did
yeah.
back then, and
Uh-huh.
got into mental training too.
Oh. Well, tell me a little bit about that.
Everybody has different ways of training, Greg, different routines and everything.
Mhm.
But the common denominator of success in anything is the mind.
Right.
So back then, I studied mind and mind training,
Okay.
and
Now,
and how to like the elder told me, he says, well, don't analyze things. You train, you develop your form, but you don't analyze. When you go out, you allow it to happen.
okay. Now, let me ask you, was there a particular book, I don't know, the word style is not appropriate. Was there any type of mental training? How did you hear
Silver mind
about it?
training, I got into that silver mind training and
What's it?
all
I'm
that.
sorry. I'm sorry. What's that called?
Silver mind training.
Silva?
Yeah. But every day I study all kinds of different routines.
Okay. All right. So I'm curious because my father taught us as young children the power of positive thinking and um, had a very creative, open mind to try to stimulate both our interest and our confidence in steering us toward these kinds of concepts that weren't really, again,
Yeah.
what you were doing, Vince, at that time, it 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 is probably around, but it's just not that common.
Yeah.
So it probably allowed you to obviously excel. And
Yes.
I know what when my father did that for us, I know it excelled me. It just magnified what I already had, and it helped me it helped it with the confidence as well, and along with my strength training.
What
So
I learned is you have to abandon the ego and
there,
that
ooh,
concept, let go and let God.
that's a
Let go and let God and follow the instincts.
that's not it's a big thing. It's not so easy to achieve, right? That's a big one.
But it's the
Y-
way to achieve, because
Right.
when you concentrate on your technique and everything, it detracts from your performance. But
Mm,
you've got to get into the fit. I do that with my clients, Greg.
okay.
I put them in a relax, and then I get the feel of success. You see yourself succeeding, you
Yeah.
hear yourself succeeding, and you get into the feeling. Allow the feeling to get into you.
So it's almost like a neural sensation and visualization,
Yeah,
right? And
three
would you,
different concepts: the
Vince,
visual, auditory, and kinesthetic. Yeah,
okay. And then Vince, would you say that you kind of put all your experiences together and kind of crafted your own kind of technique and, crafted a technique of doing that, obviously sharing and,
yeah.
mentoring your clients?
We do that. I do that with my clients. I have a lot of them lost a lot of body fat. I have
Mhm.
them visualize their goal, hear what they and feel themselves achieving that goal.
Right.
And then I give them a trigger, like when you feel yourself successful, feel it. Then I
Yeah.
have them clench their fist, and I said, before you go to bed at night, before you clench that fist and get the feeling. When you wake up in the morning, before you get out of the bed, clench that fist. And during the day, whenever you do anything to achieve, you clench that fist and feel it.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, that's powerful. That's really powerful. And, obviously it sets you apart from a lot of others. But let's step back for a second. What where so in your teens and your 20s,
Yeah.
where was your big focus? Like, I knew you were heavily passionate about this stuff. Were you already getting into that business and training it, or do you have any other jobs or any things you worked on
I
aside
did
that?
so many, had so many, different. I've trained people. I was a teacher.
Oh, tell it.
I was
What's
a
up?
phys ed teacher.
Okay. So did you go to college?
Yes, I did. I got a Bachelor of Arts in, phys ed and,
And
in
what school?
psychology.
Yeah, what school up there?
Baldwin Wallace,
Say it again.
Baldwin Wallace University.
Okay. Nice, nice.
They have a
So,
Bachelor of Arts. And see, even when you're studying, I did that too. When I took a Spanish, and because when you had to take a, a class, and I took Spanish and I failed it. And then I just changed my mindset. Then I went back and I did. Then I allowed it to happen, and I got an A in it.
there
They
you
said,
go.
"How did you go for?" I changed my mindset. Instead of trying, really trying, I just allowed it to happen.
Okay, so you basically got out of your own way.
Yeah, I got out of went for in Spanish. I went from an F to an A. They asked me how I did that. I
uh,
allowed it to happen, Greg.
oh, it wasn't a Spanish girlfriend.
Huh? Yeah,
It
yeah.
was.
So yeah,
Do you speak Italian?
there's only one word I say in Italian, but I won't say it.
Okay, okay, I won't go there. I won't
My
go there.
mother's, that's my parents. All they did is speak Italian. You know what I mean?
Okay,
And you know what I mean?
sure. Now, do you have other family members besides like your mom when you growing up, your mom and dad? Did they have siblings and you have uncles and
My
aunts
mother
nearby?
had 14 kids in her family.
Whoa, she was one of 14?
That's why she didn't have any more than me. I don't think she wanted any more. And then my father had a lot, and I have a lot of cousins.
Okay, and there's a lot of them up there in your neck of the woods
Yeah,
nearby.
and a lot of my cousins are well built.
Oh, wonderful. You guys are all like naturally genetic gifts or whatever.
I could be, but we have that.
Okay. Where did you now where do you know your lineage of like where your parents, your father and both your father and
Yeah,
mothers, where they
my
come from
mom
in
from
Italy?
Calabria,
Okay.
and my dad's was from Body.
And body?
Body, yeah. I don't know what. Yeah,
Is that BODI? Something like that?
yeah, I think I don't know,
Okay.
but they're
Okay.
they're both. I'm 100% Italian.
Right, right, right. And so Vince,
This
um,
this one girl I was dating, and she
uh-oh.
knew one of my friends who was a lifter, Tony Frado. He was a world champion, and
Okay.
we got along really good. She says, "Oh my goodness," she says, "My parents won't let me go out with you anymore." I says, "Why?" They don't want me dating any Italians or powerlifters.
In that order.
And you got two strikes.
That is, I don't know what experiences that parent had,
I said,
right?
"You know what?
You
If I
Italian
had a
boys.
daughter, I may not have wanted to have an Italian, or a powerlifter either."
That's funny. So Vince, besides that bullying and you going to get your physical, that probably steered you toward your physical education in
Yeah.
college. Did you have was there any other life-changing experiences along the way besides you, like obviously grabbing onto bodybuilding? You go to college, you get a bachelor's with a also in psychology, right? You mentioned that.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome. And then so you're out of school, you have that. Where'd you go from there?
I went from there, and then I taught for a while.
Okay.
I taught for a while, and I got good friends. I
Okay.
developed good friends. And one of the good things I is when I train people, I change their life too.
Okay.
A lot of people trained this one little kid in elementary school. He got bullied. So I started him in weight training, and he came to my gym a little bit later. He's a grown man. He says he's a teacher now, and I has changed his life.
Well, there you go, my friend. You have been, we've both been training for a long time, and the best teachers are usually the best students.
Yeah.
And, that whole thing, and again, Imagine Fitting In podcast is all about mentors, healthy lives, and community.
Yeah.
And that what we're, experiencing firsthand is there's a really almost an epidemic of a loss of, I don't know if it's a realization or I think it's more like just a realization how powerful it is, the absence of
Yeah.
knowing how powerful mentoring is, and
Yeah.
and young, especially young men,
Yeah.
this day and age, because we have in a culture, we have always tend to try to nurture a woman's rights and capabilities, and having them give them opportunities.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we did like a little bit too much of a heavy swing shift. And so there's a big issue with that, with challenges with mental illness and all that kind of stuff. And I say this before, Vince, that guys like you and me, we are on the front line of wellness, right? We're not on the
Yeah.
side of doctors of disease. We're looking like, hey, you are not sick. You do not have a disease. We're going to make you stronger. But in terms of the ability for us to change lives,
Yeah.
the best people are the people who have had their lives changed
Yeah.
and have
Yeah.
experienced it on the edge.
Definitely.
So,
Yeah.
my work has been, ever since when I started working out, I caught the bug. Um, and then, not so many years ago, I developed a program that was specifically designed for kids and
Yes.
kids in school and all that kind of stuff. So now my work, I'm a balance specialist. And I do a lot of pain management for the baby boomers. I do sports performance and injury prevention for young athletes. But also, I'm actually starting to get into some of that mental health side of it, because my point is this: we are so desperately a treasure, waiting to be taken advantage of, because I think we're already on a tipping point with the mental health in general,
Yeah.
as a society. And what COVID did was like a big drunk guy walk in the bar, and he just knocked the whole bar over, and like the whole table's
Yeah.
off,
Yeah.
right? And we've gone and we've seen it. We see things every day. So
Speaking of COVID,
yeah, that
uh,
COVID was just that big bumbling drunk that finally, like, it was already sloshed and ready to tip over.
yeah.
But
Yeah.
it really, like, threw everything out, like, there's no way we cannot look at this, right? We cannot not address this.
Yeah.
So that's, I think, one of the most powerful positive things that came out of COVID, is that it shook everybody up. A lot of people are still affected by it, have been, right? And other people have, hopefully, like ourselves, as fitness professionals, we have seen the kind of like the worst of times or the worst of situations, and we've crawled out and made the best of it. And, I applaud you for your work, right?
Yeah.
Because you are definitely from a generation that, we're probably like one generation apart, but you are that mindfulness and that kind of approach to that teaching is brilliant. And it is to be commended. And I aspire to always improve my potential
Yeah. Yeah.
for that communication, all that. Now, let me ask you, um, you started training because you got bullied. Okay, so when you started, you were when you're 8 years old. You said like you made makeshift weights and stuff.
I put up bricks on rusty bars.
Okay. And so then did you like when you went to Vince's gym, is that when you was like all of a sudden you're using all this really hardcore professional equipment?
Yeah, it wasn't professional. Back then it's old, but back then he got me into powerlifting. It's not, you know,
Yeah.
professional, barbells. Not really
Uh-huh.
professional.
What
But I, yeah, it wasn't. It was.
Well, anything's gonna be a step up from your rusty bar and bricks or whatever,
I
right?
got my best training and I won my best worlds in 1970. We when Vince, I went in a garage with training partners, and just that was it, just the barbells. And I
Okay.
won a I went to Perth, Australia, and won a world championship in Perth with just training in the garage.
Okay. Now, did you, this was at your own garage, or did you have like a
No,
team?
no, a friend of mine's,
Okay. What was your friend's name?
Jack Sedaris.
Well, Jack Severus. Is he still with us?
Let me tell you something that I really, friend that trained with us.
Yep.
He was 240, over 240, and I hadn't seen him for a while. And the other friend, he says, Jack, a lot went down from 240 to 140,
Mm.
and he killed himself.
Oh, oh my goodness. Oh my God. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
God bless.
yeah,
But you're training. He was around during that time you did that such extensive
yeah. But
training
I
to
didn't
go to
see
Perth.
much of him. Yeah, after
Oh,
that,
okay. Okay. And
he must
so,
have got some disease that took all that weight off him.
mm, so you literally you were like training with a group of guys in a garage,
Yeah,
and you went to Perth,
yeah,
Australia, for that big
yeah.
competition. Now, is my memory banks with Larry Pacifico's story? Was that 78 or 79?
77.
Oh, 77.
Let me
Okay.
tell you a story of this.
Sure, please.
There was a good-looking a girl out in a friend out in a audience watching,
In
and
Perth.
Larry says she wants to she'd like to meet you, Vince, but she don't want to go out with losers, so you better win.
That's great.
Yeah,
Oh, that's fantastic.
you know
So
what?
so let me
She
ask
still,
you, so did
yeah,
you win and get the girl? Or
yeah,
just win? You win
both.
and get the girl. That's awesome. So listen, tell me more, like, okay, you mentioned earlier about the gentleman that really was like transfixed you, and he lifted, first person to lift like 700 pounds. Tell us about this.
Bob Peoples, yeah,
Yeah. Tell us about, let's tell us about your whole, that you knew about that record, and you were like the first
yeah.
person
I didn't
under
know that,
200.
too much because it was way before my time.
Okay.
He did up to 700 in 1947, the year I was born.
Okay. And then tell me about your journey. Did you do that, break that record, whatever, in Perth?
No, I broke the record in 75. I became the
Oh,
first person under 200 pounds to deadlift 700,
wow.
800. I became the
800.
first person under 200 to deadlift 800.
Wow. Now is that record hold, or how long did that hold?
No, this I was the first, but it's still been broken.
Yeah.
All records are going to be broken.
Right. So now let me ask you, Vince. You did that in 77, you said?
I did it. I about 75.
Oh,
And
75.
broke. And then I broke world record in 77, 78.
Nice.
And
So that just transported you to Perth and all that competition.
yeah, I really had a great time. And it's actually, I met my wife. She's one of the best things that happened in my life
Oh,
because
that's beautiful.
we were running training programs. Me and my friend, we wrote a program of training, and she was online and she signed up and ordered the program, and we met.
Yep.
And then she was in Pennsylvania. She came down here, and she's one of the best things that happened in my life. Meet my wife, Suzanne Hocanello.
Oh, a shout out to Suzanne. God bless.
Yeah, Suzanne, she's a
That's
great woman.
wonderful.
She's the
That's
best thing that
wonderful.
happened to me. And
Nice.
that's because I won all my, if I hadn't won my world titles, I wouldn't have met her.
Uh-huh. Now, let me ask you, along the way, like 75, 77,
Yeah.
79, were you just a lot of like kind of self-motivated and focused on your own particular strategy, and or did you, bounce stuff off like Larry Pacifico and other guys that you were associated with
Larry,
with?
yeah, he had me, he told me how to open my business. He says, "Then try to train them the best you can."
Right. But
But
when
you know how I get my routines, Greg?
but in terms of your competition, powerlifting competition, were you like a solo guy coming in and carrying your own stuff, your own weight, and it made your name, or did you end up like training with a group of guys that were like in the powerlifting world that were like your buddies and stuff? I'm just curious on like if you had like a team or you just solo on the
I was
most part.
actually solo. Sometimes I trained, you know, for training. Sometimes I trained alone. But
Okay,
but what I did is I went by instinct.
sure.
I didn't even know how I got that idea in my mind. That's a different training routine. I don't, even in my clients, it just comes to my mind by instinct, Greg. I don't know how it does that.
You know, I
I think it's a universal for. I think let go and let God. Let me tell you this. You know, I have clients from high school athletes to senior citizens, and let me tell you about this one guy. He called me up. Him and his wife. We want to. He's in his 90s, mid 90s,
uh-huh.
and his wife wanted to help him because he couldn't even put on his socks, put on his shoes.
Oh, I've been there. Yep, go ahead.
Now he's 92 years old. Uh, he's one of the best clients I've ever trained. When he comes, some of the high school athletes, Greg, he's stronger than them and has more flexibility.
Because he was just like, did you get him super motivated once he got the fever?
Oh yeah, we do mind training. We do mind training after every routine.
Got it. Got
That
it.
guy is so well. He's it was very sad that we went to his wife's funeral. They were married
Oh,
75 years.
oh, God bless.
So
That's
we went out to his funeral, and you know what he's doing now?
what's he doing now?
Dating.
Well, you go boy. You
He's
go boy.
dating. He's dating his friend's daughter.
Okay.
When he comes to my gym, he's coming tomorrow. By the way,
Wow.
and he comes in. He says, "Hey, Vin Dog, I want to do some curls for the girls."
So, all right. So let's give the listeners an example of you have a new client that comes in and they have been to other gyms
Yeah,
and they've tried to get somewhere that maybe they didn't actually even know where they wanted to go, and or they had a strong mindset. Like, how do you start with the typical individual when they first walk in your door? I'm curious.
actually, I don't advertise anymore. You know why, Greg? You know why? Most of my clients have been with me over 20 years.
Right.
This one woman that's coming tomorrow, I started training her in 1994.
Mm-hmm.
And most of my clients have been with me 20 years. And I don't need anymore.
Right. Okay. So would you say that your style is let me see. So what would you say? Is it, you think it's a 50-50 split between the physicality and the mind training?
The common denominator of success is mental.
Right. But would you say that's a 50-50 split there in terms of what
It's
how
hard to say.
put you focus?
I
It,
think mental is more, you know what I mean?
okay. And it may vary but for per client, right? I would
Yeah.
assume. I would assume. Yeah.
We've been there. We have them. We, I do mind training with them after every session.
Nice. So um I know I'm with you on that whole advertising thing because our best advertising is usually our last client. They tend to refer us to people, and I don't know if you ever experienced this, but some people they enjoy what they have in our relationship, and it's so powerful for them that sometimes I think they don't want to bring somebody else because they're afraid that they'll get too busy
Yeah.
and not be able to cater to them. But no, that
Actually, I don't actually need any advertisement, because I got,
right.
I'm doing, right now I'm training clients online too.
Oh, okay. All right. Nice,
I
nice.
trained them mentally. I really get into that mentally to achieve in anything online.
Yeah. And so you mentioned when you talked about Larry being impactful in your business, do you go to outside of the physicality training and talk more and any more about like business and that kind of stuff and real life relationships and stuff? Like life
I don't know.
coaching?
Uh,
Like life coaching or anything like that, or you just keep it on the physical plane of physical achievements?
I keep it on physical achievement, man. or mental training is good for success in anything. You
Right.
Larry, when I started training at Larry, he when I opened my business, almost 30 years, he said, Vince, don't worry about average. Just train, have your clients get the best training.
Right. Right. Deliver.
And he gave me that, and he was my in lifting. You know what I mean? He said,
Mhm.
don't analyze it, just do it.
Right. Just do
You
it.
train, but you don't analyze it.
Right.
He said, you want someone not to perform. You say, if I'm performing against you guys, great, your form looks a little different. What's wrong?
Mhm.
And it gets your mind to analytic and detracts from your, performance.
Right. Yeah, there's a certain degree of, what do you call it? Obviously you're going to analyze outcomes, right? Am I getting stronger, and or am I achieving what my initial goals were, right? In terms of adjusting. But
Yeah,
like you said, it's a big one with a lot of, like, get out of your own way and just get at it. And I think that there were times I had a client way back in the day that she was like a vice president of a major commercial real
yeah,
estate in Chicago, and she would literally come to me for an hour, and she'd open up when she get there, she'd go, Greg, just tell me what to do for an hour, because I
yeah,
tell I tell people what to do all day.
yeah,
And Vince, I will tell you, it would literally take about a half an hour,
yeah,
and this was an afternoon lunch session. It'd take a half an hour for her to actually really get there and be with me physically and mentally present.
yeah,
And then I would pound her the second half, and she walked away like, "Oh, that was great." you know?
yeah,
And it's just, I used to be in advertising. I left that world because wanted to stop using my creative energies to sell things I didn't believe in or want to promote. And we walk the walk, we talk the talk, we deliver the goods, and it's just like clean and simple, like you mentioned, as Larry mentioned. You provide that level of service, and you're going to be fine. Just like if you put your
yeah,
attention to your own workouts, just do it. But there's so many positive benefits that we bring to individuals' lives in terms of structure and commitment,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and focus and determination, and in inspiring them to understand, like, that yes, you can have more, you can be more. And it's again, get away from, get out of the way of your own self, and
yeah,
for sure, not allowing people outside of you to either dictate or judge or take that as anything. Because as me, a long time ago, I don't really give a rat's ass about what somebody thinks about me. I know my moral ground. I know my focus and my attention, professionalism. And I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've experienced this where people will literally make judgments and call me arrogant and egotistical, but not wanting to admit that I'm actually intellectual and just really know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
And I don't try to like shame people or correct them, but I like to have open conversation
yeah,
to stimulate a conversation. Like, I can learn more from you, but if you all of a sudden you want to stop and start judging, or
yeah,
just it's interesting, because this fitness business, you talk about egos in the professional world of fitness, right? They're just permeating. A lot of people that get into fitness have such big egos, and
yeah,
sometimes, like, it's almost like I've always been the kind of guy where I want to be a collaborative guy. I want to learn. I want to grow. And when all of a sudden you get this energy from somebody, a fellow professional,
yeah,
that wants to think that it's their road and the high road, but it all comes down to number of years experience and where you hang your hat, right? I would
yeah,
I, I would never expect to know the inside and outs of bodybuilding.
yeah.
Even though I attempted to do I mean, your powerlifting. Even if though I didn't, I started doing bodybuilding when I was a kid. I'm still not an expert with that, and I'll fully admit.
Nobody's an expert. No. The
Right.
more I know, Greg, the more I know I don't know.
Right. So we're specialist growing students. You know what I mean? We specialize in being students and trying to, bring our game. I'm always inquisitive, and my biggest words are two words
because
are what if.
yeah, like the digestive system, the circulatory system, it's in with that. You can't know how it runs. You know, you just have to let go
Yeah. Yeah.
and let God.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of the ego, the one guy came to the gym. He was fought the world champion in mixed martial arts to a draw,
Okay.
and everybody knew who he was. So we were a good friend. We were talking about the ego and stuff. So
Yeah.
we went down into a restaurant bar. We drank, and people knew. Some of the guys were drunk, and he says, "Hey, you asshole! I could probably kick your butt." He looked at him. He says, "Probably could." He could have beat him with one finger, but he said, "Oh yeah,
just
you
let it
probably
go.
could."
Yeah. Just let it go, right?
Yeah,
It's yeah, in terms of know where your battles are and the energy of either waste, like energy not energy is very vital and precious.
yeah,
And I consider there's three types of people. The number three people want to kind of like they want to kind of stand on a soapbox and think they're just somewhere they're actually not, and
yeah,
almost like need to try to talk down to you, or not allow you to even speak your mind or have any type, right? So that patience where it's like I have no time for those kinds of people. Now
yeah,
the number two people, I'm sure you agree, especially in our business, there's a lot of people that can be enamored by the things we know, and they want to um, get some juice from you, right? Get some
yeah,
motivation, stimuli. But then after a while, it's a great thing because I love mentoring people. I love helping people. That's why I'm in this business.
yeah,
But then there is a certain level of like, oh, I just have so much time, and it's not that I don't want to help you, but I have to kind of edit the amount of people because it can really. I have to make
yeah,
sure I make time for myself. And those are the number two people, which I love, but I literally have to learn to self-edit a little bit to protect me. And then there's the number one people I talk about. And so see if you can relate to this, Vince. When you meet a person, right, in your life,
yeah,
I met a person through a friend of a friend, and I wasn't even talking to him for 10 minutes. I became closer, the energy connection, I became a closer friend to him than the gentleman who introduced me to, was a mutual friend.
yeah,
And to this day, we're like, we could just you have those friends, right? You just pick up the phone. You haven't talked to them in 10 years or 10 months, and you
yeah,
just pick up where you left off.
yeah,
Exactly, like, yeah, and it's like those are number one people that I aspire for,
yeah,
that you have this mutual exchange, right? You're just giving back and forth. It's like a great relationship with you, right,
yeah,
with your wife or your partner, right, your spouse, where there's
yeah.
an exchange and you can't explain it. It's just there, you
Yeah.
know. And I think that's a very precious thing in this world.
Oh yeah,
A-
definitely.
and you know again, going back to our industry, right, our wellness industry, our
Yeah,
strength, our empowerment in that physical plane, which I call the body temple, and I try to use what I call temple logic, and
yeah,
to say that this is a powerful plane that can help you conquer pretty much any challenge in your life.
yeah,
And because it's your base foundation, right? If you take care of your house, it's going to be there for you. So, Vince, let me ask you a question. So, I mean, did you, if you could go back in time, right?
yeah.
Is there anything like when what would, if you can go back in time, is there anything advice you would give your 18-year-old self? Like from all what you've done and what you
No,
know
all I've
now?
done, is follow your instinct. Let go and follow your instinct. That's what I did. A lot of things happened to me but that was the right thing to do.
Right.
Because I went, one of the bullies that bullied me came in, I trained him. I says, "Thank you for bullying me. Because if you wouldn't have done that, I wouldn't achieve what I did."
Mm. Wow.
No,
That's
there's nothing I would do different, Greg.
okay. But that instinct, I love that when you said that, we're trying to get what I call, trying to come out with like different nuggets. And I think that's a nugget right there, Vince. A great
Let
nugget.
go and let God.
Let go, let God,
Whatever
follow
your concept.
follow your instinct, and be you, eh? It's just that's a powerful one. Very
Like
much.
when I train my clients, I go by instinct, and I'm training. I sometimes, where did that come from? It
Hmm.
just came, that instinct came into me, just helping them. But how it just came into me.
So Vince, besides your 92-year-old client, what's his name?
Ray,
Shout out to Ray. Um,
I'll train him tomorrow. I'll tell him.
okay. But I was going to ask you, do you have any other like really fantastic stories of achievement of a client over your years that really stands out in your memory?
Oh gosh, a lot of them lost so much body fat. You know what I mean?
Right? Anybody that had a really, unusual case or scenario, you don't have to go in specifics of names, but does anything stand out besides obviously your boy 92 years old is just kicking it, but
Yeah,
any
everybody helped athletes, high school and college athletes. I've
uh-huh.
had so many. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Did you ever have anybody that come off like a car accident or surgery or disease? Anything like that?
Not too many. Too many. They have injuries. Yeah, we've helped them. Get
Okay.
through that.
Okay. And so what do you have a facility up there in your area where do you
Yeah,
train out of?
I train out of Anello Body Fitness,
Okay.
and again, we rescue greyhounds, and we've had five
Nice.
greyhounds at a time. I've never had my gym open without a greyhound in it.
Oh, nice. So where is Anello Fitness located? What's
Anello
if
Body Fitness is located in Parma Heights.
okay. And so tell us more about your Greyhound rescue. That's very interesting.
Yeah, the Greyhound Rescue. We started. My wife's son had a Greyhound, and back about 30 years ago, and we went down there. We started going to different, that had Greyhound Rescue, and We started rescuing them,
Mhm.
and then we had five at a time in our house.
Wow.
And they
They
always come to my gym,
they
and
seem yeah.
I tell my clients, you could bring your children if they have four legs.
So they seem like such sweet dogs.
Oh yeah, they are such nice. Yeah,
And so I know I see what's your dog's name now? Because I know I see is it him or her on social media I see you with?
my dog's name is Vito.
Vito. Okay.
That was my dad's name. You know what
Okay.
we did? I
What'd you do?
went to my graveyard, and Vito met his grandfather Vito, his grandson. Yeah, we went to the grave, and I took a picture of that. My
Let me
dad's grave, and by
your
Vito
your dog Vito. And so let me ask you, how old was Vito when you got him?
too.
You rescued him when he was 2.
Yeah,
Are there I have to admit something to you. I grew up back in the day, and we used to go down to Daytona Beach, Florida, and
yeah,
we used to go to the dog races, and as a kid,
yeah.
seeing the mechanical rabbit and those dogs, whatever, and it wasn't until later that you get the background story. So, I'd imagine, do they run them early, like a year and a half, and then by 2 years, they're done?
To be truthful with you, I'm not into the racing. I'm into rescue.
Right, right, but I'm
I'm not
saying
really into. I have no. My wife does. I have no, not too much knowledge on. You know.
oh, she has okay, because obviously that stood out because, the Greyhound is known for, like I mean, as a kid, I remember watching them thinking like, "Oh my god, there was no other faster creature I'd ever experienced unless you occasionally see a horse maybe on TV or a
Yeah.
cheetah." But in the real life, that was the first time I really see an animal that can, like, run in a pack and multiples of them and
Oh
run
yeah. They run
so
45
fast.
miles an hour. I think.
It's amazing. So
Yeah.
that's really admirable that you rescue. Um, that's really nice, really
Yeah.
nice. That's a very cool thing. And so was your wife into that before you got together with her? She been in that for a
No,
while,
not
or
really. Not really. No.
oh, okay. It was like a mutual thing recently?
Yeah.
Nice.
About 28 years ago.
Okay. And do you have more than one Greyhound right now, today?
No, just one.
Okay. All right. So are you guys affiliated with any specific organization up there near
Yeah, the Greyhound
Cleveland?
Rescue over there in
Greyhound Rescue?
Chicago.
Is
Yeah,
that's a national organization?
yeah, Greyhound
Not
Rescue, and we,
nice,
yeah,
nice. Yeah, that's awesome. So Vince, what else can you tell me about your time competing in the powerlifting back in the set, right? Wouldn't you say your heydays were like in your what mid 70s, mid 80s? That was your
probably lower 80s,
okay.
70. Yeah,
Okay. So late 70s into the early 80s.
yeah, or 70s all the way through.
Oh, 70s all the way through.
My
Eh,
first was one in 72. Yeah.
Okay. And then when was your last professional or your powerlifting competition? Do you remember?
Oh, in the 80s, that was good, but, my one training partner said, I'm getting to worry about your health, because my form was, you know what I mean, as I was getting older.
Sure. Now, how old were you when you felt like you were just peak top the world, like the strongest ever?
Number 1977.
And how old were you?
I was born in 1947.
So you were 30 years old.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty much on the pinnacle of any young athlete, mature
Yeah.
almost veteran, right? In terms of
Yeah.
knowing the skill, the physicality, the mindset, the experience to really like, um, yeah, what do
Well,
they
let me tell you about, the mental training and stuff. I did the mental trying to get in a relaxed state and get that feeling inside of me of success. And back in Turku, Finland, in
Okay.
1978, we lifted over there. I hurt my back in the squat.
Mm.
It was hard for me to walk. I needed a world record to win. They had almost carried me on the platform.
Oh my gosh. And you
I
went
got
up
into
there?
that feeling, and I went up there and pulled it and won.
Oh my goodness. So you won with a strained back.
Yeah,
Wow. I tell you what, dude, I mean, mind over matter. And
yeah,
the first time I ever heard and remember hearing the word like visualization was when the commentators were talking about way back in the day. It could have been like wide world of sports days. And
yeah,
this is dating us, right? Um, the fact that the Russians used to talk about visualization. And then, of course, you would hear these little quips about these Russian coaches coming in and coming and either defecting to US and becoming like these
yeah,
pretty superstar coaches. And, that's where, again, I'm just saying that's like kind of where I first heard that visualization.
yeah,
And I think that, obviously, with just as time has gone on, like everything, it's becoming more like kind of common to
yeah,
talk about the mental side. And, when
yeah,
the term life coaching, came around and it was kind of commercialized
yeah,
and
yeah,
so, yeah, and it's a powerful thing. And myself, I continued my own discovery and my big research of my when you talk about the mental game
yeah,
and that kind of focus, I dug deeper into humanity and deep culture and even to before the five religions and the early man, and that fascinates me about just primal stuff.
yeah,
And then we talk about technology today, but it's all relative because there's certain levels of technology that came along as we get along. Um, but anyway, Vince, is there anything else that you would like to share with listeners about your experience and maybe even some advice directed to young people who have you know, thought about the actually powerlifting and or bodybuilding and fit, getting more active and into the specifics of those
no,
competition like?
you just go into instinct. You go what motivates you. You
Yeah.
get the feel, and you get the feeling. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh. So, all right, Vince. Well, listen, it's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, Greg, it's really been a pleasure.
And you know remind us one before we cut free here. What was okay? Were you 30 years old when you broke? You beat that? You lifted that 800 deadlift to 800 pounds. How much? Do you remember the exact weight that you lifted?
No, I don't remember, but
It, it was
so
over
many
eight.
times.
It was
I became the first person to deadlift in 75.
in 75, over
Yeah.
800 pounds, and you were under 200.
Yeah, I was the first person in history to do that.
Wow, that's pretty amazing, Vince. Like, you know, being the first of anything, that's
Yeah.
quite admirable, and we can see why following your instinct and your mind training has taken you far places, and those are great nuggets for my audience and my listeners. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, Greg. It was really an honor. Thank you for having me on. It
All
was a
right.
pleasure.
Okay. So, all right, we'll be catching up with you. All
Okay,
right.
thank you, Greg, and God bless you.
Thank you very much. All right, everybody. Till next time, kids. Bye bye.
Professor.